Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here with the Empire. We're going to be taking on the High Elves. And today, I have an interesting dilemma. So I brought a fun sort of Midland themed list. This isn't strictly under the Midland banner, but these are all units that you could get with that faction. And I'm up against the High Elves, and I figured, this build is a little bit vulnerable to Dragon Princes, but as long as my opponent doesn't bring a whole bunch of Dragon Princes, I should be okay. And lo and behold, we've got two units of Dragon Princes here, led by a Prince and another one over on the far side. So, yeah, I've got my work cut out for me a little bit. Thankfully, I do outnumber the High Elves pretty significantly. But we've got a front line of Spearmen here, second line of Lothern Seaguard, the aforementioned Dragon Princes, which also have quite a bit of chevrons, making them very expensive. We've got a Prince here hidden in the woods, it looks like a Mage Lord of Life. For my forces, of course, Boris up in the air leading the way. I decided to go with an Amber Wizard. Thankfully, I do have the Manticore summon, so we're going to try and use that to good effect here. Flock of Doom as well. 2 units of Outriders, which are going to be very key also. We've got 4 Empire Knights, the Great Cannon, and a whole mess of State Troops with tons of Swordsmen and Spearmen, 4 of each. And yeah, right off the bat, I figured there was, not enough funds, obviously, right here to make up a full army, so I do spot these Dragon Princes here. My Outrider's immediately going to open up on them, start to do a little bit of damage, but obviously with the physical resistance and the shields from the front, they're not going to take a whole lot. Haven't even dropped a model yet, but did a bit of HP damage, so that's okay. My Cannon's going to switch targets over onto the far side, start seeing if it can pop some side shots through these Dragon Princes. Of course, shooting a side angle shot like this through a unit of cavalry can potentially do a ton of damage. So, frontline forces coming together. You can see I'm moving kind of this other side group over here to secure the pass, as it were. And yeah, Outrider's going to be continuing to move back. The Empire Knights moving forward at this point. So, ooh, some nice cannon shots right there. Take out a few models. So far, so good. 7 kills on Dragon Princes, I will take. I didn't spot these Dragon Princes, unfortunately, though, so they are going to come and get a little bit of a surround situation on me. I'm going to push the Swordsmen forward. We're going to use the Spearmen and the Empire Knights to try and hold back the Dragon Princes. It's not the best to use the Empire Knights for that, but they have the mass to hold them back, and they can outnumber them 2 to 1 at the very least. So I figured with Spearman support, they should be able to do okay here, but the counter charge coming in. Dragon Prince is obviously much superior charge bonus, going to do quite a bit of damage, but the Empire Knights, thankfully, their armor will help them out in that situation. Meanwhile, over here, these Dragon Princes chose not to engage, as I had plenty of Spearmen, plus the 2 Griffins and the Outriders in that area, so they decided to pull back and try and seek a more favorable engagement. Got the first Manticore summon online. That's going to be going after the Life Mage. You can see her getting punted in the background as Boris drops a quick terror route on these Spearmen. Since my opponent decided not to engage with his Dragon Princes, I decided, let's use these Empire Knights for a quick rear charge. Fortunately for me, some of my Spearmen already have broken, and these High Elf Spearmen did get back, compromise the cannon position, so a bit of a missed play on my end, but yeah, Amber Wizard came over here to help support this engagement as well, just to give a bit of extra AP, heroic presence here also. He has a pretty good splash attack, and on the charge at least he can do a ton of damage. Meanwhile, the Empire State Troops trading very well here against these High Elf Spearmen. Dragon Princes now choosing to engage here. They did get a good rear charge on the Empire Knights there, but thankfully were able to rout off a lot of the supporting Spearmen. Boris also getting in here, so yeah, this is what they call in ancient battle tactics, defeat in detail. I believe it's a term that may even still be used today, but essentially what I need to do with these Dragon Princes is defeat them singled out. Unfortunately, my Outrider's taking a little bit of counterfire from those Lothern Seaguard here. I've mostly been able to keep them out of range, but that unit did take a few losses there, which is unfortunate, but defeat in detail. So that's basically exactly what I'm doing with these Dragon Princes here. I've got them separated, surrounded by superior forces. I'm able to, because I outnumber my opponent, I can pin down his other units in various other places, and then overwhelm with superior resources here, and sort of try and clean up these high-value units that I don't necessarily have the best tools for taking on, individually without support. I should be able to take them out with superior numbers and, with using the appropriate units in the right way. You can see here the Outriders pulling up for another handful of volleys here, getting their repeater carbines out, going to be firing in on the Dragon Princes here, which are currently trying to finish off some tattered state troops. We're going to keep throwing these state troops in anytime they rally, but at this point, my opponent kind of sees my play here, so I'm going to start to move the Outriders over, try and get them up and around this way where I have superior forces. Dragon Prince is getting terrified away as they get a regrowth, which is great for me, but Boris takes a dive down in here with some Empire Knights to try and punish this Prince a little bit, see if we can't disrupt this backline as well, keep these Lothern Sea Guard from just free firing. Some rallied Empire Knights here, unfortunately going to take a volley and probably will rout off. But meanwhile, again, these swordsmen, anytime my opponent chooses to go after one of these other units, I can turn and shoot with the Outriders. So these swordsmen definitely going to get sacrificed here, but their sacrifice will not be in vain, as the Outriders are able to pop a few shots here, get a bit of damage in, and then they should be able to pull away very quickly. And yeah, over here, my spearmen fixing some High Elf spearmen, and still just fighting it out in the pits here. This Manticore, a little bit skiwampus, was going after the Life Mage, or no, this was actually the one I want to say that was supporting against the Dragon Princess here, which is where we put the second one. But yeah, at this point, the Manticore and Boris going to go after the Prince and just do a ton of damage here as he's caught out without support. Dragon Princes are coming in, so I want to skedaddle and try and get back up in the air as soon as I can, so they don't continue to do damage. But a heal does go on the Prince there. With this Life Mage still online, he's not honestly in too much danger as long as he doesn't get completely killed, but here he actually gets terrified away. He's got the Blade of Belcaradris up, but that's not going to help him, unfortunately, there. And if I can maybe chase him off, that's obviously going to be very favorable for me. As it stands right now, things are still pretty much dead even after all of that fighting. I've got these Outriders still got a couple Empire Knights. The Amber Wizard's relatively healthy. Boris still very, very healthy and has plenty of cap space left. If we have a look here, he's still got plenty of healing cap, about, yeah, more than 2,700 HP of cap space left, so he'll be totally fine, not too worried about him. At this point, the Manticore goes down, which is a bit unfortunate, but those Manticores definitely did their job of distracting, you know, doing damage to various things, dropping terror routes, just a very nice utility spell now that the Manticores actually will last a little while. But, yeah, Boris pulling away here. Unfortunately, that Prince did get a regrowth, so he's now rallied his leadership and is going to be a bit tougher to break now, especially if my opponent plays his cards right. But over here, we've got some true heroes of the Empire, the State Troop Spearmen holding off these 3 Dragon Princes, which had come back to the fight very impressively, but probably going to have to fight them to the death here, honestly. Yeah, they've only got about 100 HP between the few of them, so yeah, Outriders at this point going to be used against the Dragon Princes, and again, the Empire Knights being used in a situation where they're not necessarily ideal, but still, with the support of the Amber Wizard here, with the extra AP and everything, I figured they would be okay. We're going to also drop some Flocks of Doom here. Boris is on his way over as well to try and go after that Life Mage in the back, punts her into the fray, and then goes straight through those Spearmen, so yeah. We'll see. Unfortunately, the Empire Knights were sacrificed there as well. They got taken out by those Dragon Princes, but the Dragon Princes themselves actually get terrified away by the Griffins. So at this point, we've mostly dealt with the Dragon Princes. Well, I say mostly. 2 out of the 3 units have been dealt with. So my defeat in detail strategy is now starting to turn against me, as the numbers game is no longer really in my advantage. The High Elves have more or less comparable numbers to what I have on the field here, actually even more numbers than what I have on the field. But that being said, I do have 2 monstrous units which count for a lot and can do a ton of damage, you know, on the charge. 70 charge bonus on Boris and 60 for the Amber Wizard. Very high charge for that kind of monstrous unit. So yeah, at this point we're going to form up for a kind of second engagement here. We'll fast forward a little bit as I'm going to drop some Flocks of Doom on my opponent's kind of defensive position here, and we're going to get the Outriders in position to try and finish off these tattered Dragon Princes. So we'll put it on not quite full fast forward, but double time, as this late game skirmish is not the most exciting thing in the world to watch, but it is certainly important that I use up the rest of the ammo on these Outriders if possible, and especially on this health unit of Dragon Princes. And as well, during this whole time, I can keep getting those Flocks of Doom from the Amber Wizard, continuing to deal little spurts of damage on these Lothern Sea Guard as well. It's not going to do a ton, but, you know, anything I can do will help. My opponent realizes that this, you know, time game isn't really in his favor, so he's going to send his Dragon Princes out to try and collapse what's left of these state troops. This is more or less exactly what I intended, because again, defeat in detail. If these Dragon Princes come over here unsupported, then we can come in with overwhelming numbers and overwhelming resources and try and finish them off. Those spearmen, unfortunately, I kind of messed up by countercharging there, so they weren't braced. But the griffins are now going to come in. The rest of the state troops also collapse here. So the two griffins, especially on the rear charge, will do a ton of damage. They immediately terrify away the other dragon princes there. So yeah, you can see the dragon prince has already lost a lot of HP just from that charge there. The prince is going to come over. He'll do okay against the amber wizard as long as the amber wizard isn't targeting him directly. But the outriders can now come around. Thankfully, outriders can also shoot while they're moving. So while they're getting this kind of side angle here, they can start to pop some shots into these dragon princes here. They take down the model there. Maybe pick off another model here there. But yeah. Another flock of doom, and this is going to be it. This is the name of the game in this late stage here. We've got these spearmen holding the line. They're probably going to get surrounded by high elves, but the two griffins with their continuous cycle charging, if we can just take out the dragon princes, then we should be able to finish off the leadership here. That's more or less my win condition at this point. The dragon princes get terrified, so I'm like, okay, time to start finishing off the leadership units if we can. But still more Earthbloods from the Life Mage, healing up those infantry. The Prince unfortunately did not catch the tattered Dragon Princes here, but as it stands right now, my infantry is just about to break off, so we're going to have to start being a little bit more aggressive here. But the Outriders in a commanding hill position here can maybe rain down a little bit more fire. We're trying to, again, finish off these very tattered Dragon Princes. Here comes Boris, another Flock of Doom, and the Amber Wizard from the side. Brutal charge, and we are trying to finish off the leadership here. See if we can't proc some terror routes. Dragon Princes still holding on to their leadership at the moment, and these spearmen still somehow holding the line here. True heroes of the Empire, just holding back this massive tide of high elves. And man, I wish I had an area of effect damage spell at this point. I mean, Flock of Doom is an area of effect damage spell, but something a little bit higher burst, like you know, like a vortex or something, would have been perfect right there. But fortunately, Lore of Beasts doesn't really have anything like that. You can get cheeky and sort of side shot Amber Spear if you're on the ground, but up in the air it doesn't really work quite as well, which is why I didn't bring it with this Amber Wizard. But yeah, you can see the Spearman, the Lothran Sea Guard that is, sick of getting shot at, gonna come over. But at this point, the Prince doesn't really have a whole lot of protection against this sort of thing, getting gooned by the Wizard squad here, or the Griffin squad as it were. And he's relatively close to his healing cap as well, so I'm not really worried too much more about any healing. So once we can finish him off, we should be able to finish this game up. And man, it's been a long and epic one. Very well played to my opponent. At this point, he goes ahead and admits defeat. But yeah, that was... Whew, man, I thought I had lost that one, but... Just goes to show, even if you don't necessarily prepare the best for a certain army type, you still can get it done with the right tools if you just sort of bring a good balanced army that has tools to deal with a lot of different things. And that's really, I mean, this Empire build isn't necessarily super competitive against the High Elves. I just sort of wanted to see how this, you know, Boris with Lore of Beasts, Amber Wizard up in the air with double Manticore Summon would do. Obviously, if my opponent had brought Lore of High Magic rather than Lore of Life, I would have run into some pretty serious issues with Tempest potentially, but as it stood, we ended up doing okay on that regard. And yeah, just the superior numbers here really worked out in my favor. You can see not a lot of units besides the heroic units got a ton of work done. The Outriders obviously were pretty clutch in the late game, getting some key volleys on those Dragon Princes, but Amber Wizard and Boris doing a lot of heavy lifting. The infantry obviously were able to kind of grind out some of the spearmen, but the Lothran Sea Guard hanging around until the late game. Cannon getting compromised early on was a pretty big mistake by me, but yeah, a little bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. Ended up being okay, I guess, in the late game. Empire Knights, again, not the most ideal use of them, but they did more or less their job of holding back the Dragon Princes, holding them in place, and allowing the other units to deal the damage where they needed to. But yeah, that Amber Wizard, super clutch, with the 2 Manticore summons, 66 kills on himself. Very fun stuff. So well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.